Okey-doke.
It is a shame they can't see your face. It's so much better when I have other people on with me. Okay. So I'm live here now in our free group, and it's kind of random that I'm on this late at 9 o'clock on Monday, but we in the high level ticket group always come together as a small group and talk about things that are good for your mind, that support you. And the fact of the matter is, we all have pretty much the same kind of issues going on. Should I call them issues? I'm here tonight because I have a friend, Diane, who is in my group that I do with Cali every week from the start of COVID. You guys know that I do obviously virtual fitness, and that's how I've learned how to do it. So we come together, group, on a grouply basis. And Diane was actually really the one that got me back into it. I have to say, because I heard her one lesson on confidence, and it really did something for me. It was so good. So there's a lot of you guys out there that are into the mindset and supporting your mindset, and everybody has all these apps and inspirational go-tos regularly. So now that I have Diane here, she is here. You cannot see her, but you can hear her. Okay. And she's about to talk and give us a little bit of a lesson on mindset. And those of you who are on this Zoom right now, you guys just keep your microphones off, please, because we're just going to do this tonight for our book club. And you're going to be able to hear Diane. And then at the end of it, us in our group, in the Zoom group, we're just going to stay put, and then you guys can like engage with Diane, talk, get back and forth, whatever. But we're going to keep this kind of brief. Again, you're not going to see Diane, but you're going to hear some good information. And the thing about it, which is the best, is the fact that she is hosting a 3-day event this week at 12 noon on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And day one's topic is going to be clarity. And then day 2 is going to be confidence, and day 3 is vision, putting it into action. So I definitely think that that's going to be awesome. So let's just get started right here and right now. Like I said, it is late, and I know a lot of people like to go to bed early. So we're going to keep it kind of brief, but she's got really good information. So keep listening if you like what I just said. Okay? Diane!
Thanks, Jennifer.
You're
Yeah, I'm
welcome.
gonna go to bed early tonight too myself. Stayed up too late watching the game last night, so.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Eagles. Yes.
Eagles.
Yes.
Sorry to all you Kansas City fans in advance, but I live with somebody born and raised in Philly, so we
That's
had
right.
very
That's
clear
right.
goals in our house yesterday.
Very.
But I really appreciate Jennifer asking me to come and talk to you guys. And really what I want to talk about from a mindset perspective is the stories we tell ourselves, fact versus fiction. Because I don't know if the stories we tell ourselves drive our mindset, or our mindset drives the stories we tell ourselves, or some of both. But I do know that the stories we tell ourselves can sometimes be the difference between us succeeding in what we're trying to do and not. So if you've ever told yourself, I'm not good at XYZ, like I'm not a good cook, and you start looking around, like you cook a meal and it doesn't taste very good, your brain is picking up that piece of evidence and putting it back there and going, okay, not a good cook. If you make a meal and it comes out great, you've already established the neural pathway that you're not a good cook. And then your brain goes, well, that must have been a fluke. So it's the same if you're exercising, if you're working on mobility, if you're losing weight, if you're dealing with food issues, if you're dealing with money, if you're dealing with job things, it's all the same. Like what we tell ourselves is what becomes true for us. So, all of these stories that we tell ourselves, they shape who we are, they shape the actions we take or don't take, and the results that we get. The problem is that a lot of those stories aren't true. They're based on assumptions, they're based on fear, they're based on a past experience that does not have to be true today. I spent most of my life with people saying I wasn't good managing time. And at some point, I bought into that. And there was evidence that I could find, because I'm sure everybody's heard of confirmation bias. So when you tell yourself, I'm going to go out and look at, a white car today to buy, all of a sudden, when you're on the road, you see white cars everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because there's suddenly more white cars on the road. It's because you thought about, I want to go buy a white car, and now you see them everywhere. So it's the same with the story you tell yourself. It's that saying, I'm not good at. And if everybody tells themselves stories, the fastest way to find it is if you listen to what you tell yourself and you hear the word not, or the contraction, wouldn't, shouldn't, couldn't. You use the word but. Like, if it weren't for it, I do this, but immediately somewhere your consciousness should say, I'm telling myself a story, and sort of stop and go, is it really true?
Well, that's just like
Because
what you said in our group last week, which I
Mhm.
said I referred to it on my live this past Thursday about, and Fran was like so much agree with me too, but that whole thing about can't, the word can't, and like,
Yeah,
so this would be like, would you say like trigger words when you hear yourself saying these like types of things? It's like a trigger that you have to then
it's
retract.
absolutely, yeah, it's a trigger that you're telling yourself a story. And the reality is that at any given moment, anybody can do anything. Now, I can't walk out my front door tomorrow and be a doctor. Like, I don't have the
Well,
education for
that's
that. I don't have
true.
the training for that, but I could go get it.
Well, yeah, it's
There
a good
really
point.
would be nothing preventing me from doing that. So there's always, to achieve a goal, there's steps that have to happen. There's action steps that has to happen, but there really isn't anything people can't do when that's what they decide they want their goal to be. And I set goals by going, okay, I want this or something better. That way, really, whatever happens, I'm good with it, because it's either going to be what I sought after, or it's going to be something that I've now trained my brain to see as something better. So that's one of the stories I tell myself. So there's a real brain science behind this. There's a couple things. There's, we've heard, there's the saying, neurons that fire together wire together.
Mm-hmm.
And so the technical term for that is neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically the brain wiring it and rewiring itself based on the repeated thoughts and beliefs that you tell yourself.
So, in other words, when you go into your job and you're like, I can't stand this place and these
Yep.
people are rude and I hate her,
Yep.
then,
When you get up on a Monday morning and your first thought is, oh, I don't like my job, your whole week is kind of going to be shot at that
or
point.
like, just trying to get through the day.
Yep. Just trying to get to the next vacation, trying to get to 5 o'clock. Another great story that people tell themselves is exercise is hard.
Mm.
And our brains don't like doing hard things
Mm-hmm. They
because
don't,
it feels
right. The
it's trained to
exertion.
keep you, to
Right.
keep you safe. And for the longest time, I had a hard time pushing myself in a workout because it felt physically uncomfortable, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is hard. I'm not doing this.
I don't like the way I feel. And
Yeah, I don't
that's
like the
where
way it
people
feels.
struggle. But like that's why I
Yeah,
always try to come in and I say, well, that is true. You have to like really exert and it doesn't always feel good. And it's not supposed to feel comfortable either if you're trying to retrain things, right? So you have to
right.
get uncomfortable, but then that's how you adapt to it. So like that feeling that a lot of people I know here in the group have because I've talked to them, like that would be a prime example. And so
Hmm.
like this is how we could like make it specifically apply to what we're here for in the group in the workouts kind of way, maybe, you
Right.
know.
And if you think back through all of your past experiences, has there been a time where something's been hard or felt hard and you had a successful outcome? If you train your brain to look for those things,
Hmm.
now all of a sudden the hard of the workout is like, okay, it's hard, but I'm going to get where I need to go because I've got past evidence that shows me I can do that.
That's right. And that one of the cues I always try to say because it is true. And I really do believe that the hardest part of the workout is just getting there to it. Because if
Hmm.
you have this neuro pathway going on in your brain and you're associating this experience to that of nothing but discomfort and maybe even pain, like how is that going to be motivating to go to? But like I've always said, the only regret you will have is not doing it. Like you will never come out of a workout and feel like, oh, that was a regret. Like that unless you hurt yourself, obviously, but like that's not that's not
But
what's
yeah,
gonna
and
happen.
the
Yeah.
chemical science behind what gets released in a workout, Like you cannot be unhappy when it's over.
I love
The
that.
can't think of what the proper
It,
chemical term is for what's getting,
endorphins.
that's it. The endorphins that are getting released from it. Personally, for me, that's actually where my workout journey started, was to simply go to the gym and get the exercise for the benefit of my mental health. And it wasn't for
Yes.
anything else. And the nice thing is I can still lean back on that today. And yes, it's hard. It was hard to do it. It's still hard to do it. Some days I don't feel like it, but it's like, oh, but I get this great mental health benefit if I go do this. And so I've got this past experience now that I've rewired to see it as a positive, even though it's hard and uncomfortable some days. But now I can like move right through that and be like, okay, well, that's just what happens when you do a workout. So when you get stuck on the nots and the couldn'ts and the shouldn'ts and the can'ts and the won'ts, is to go, okay, wait, I'm telling myself a story. Let me dig back into my past experience. Are there things there that I can find that show that this is a good thing, that this is a positive thing? You will always find more of what you look for. So if you look for the confirmation that it's not a good thing, that's what you'll find. If you look for confirmation that it is a good thing, that's what you'll find.
Listen, what you just said right there, it actually makes me remember that first thing when I just jumped on out of nowhere. You did a thing on confidence in Kelly's group. I just so happened to tune in that day because I like over the course of like the past year was kind of like coming and going sort of with my own involvement and engagement in Kelly's group, depending on what I had going on. But what you said, which I love so much, I tried to like repeat it to my group. It was about the Clippers. Remember Clippers?
Is it the Clippers or is it the? No, I remember telling the story about the flossing my teeth.
Oh yeah, it was the Clippers, and it brought me back to so then Kelly's, you know how she has our like non-negotiables and stuff like that, right? So then I applied the non-negotiables to this group in a way where it correlated, but like was more specific to what you and I are in Kelly's group for versus the people in my group were for. So it was so cool, but I do feel like at one point in time I did mention this where it was like when you set your day up and when you start out, like if you take that time, and which she encourages us to do, to like mentally set up your day and say exactly what you're saying, like retell your story about, like say any one specific area or thing that okay, so I'll give you an example. Because you actually said this. Tell yourself something like along the lines of, I am successful. I can be successful. I can do this today because I look at my past and I see how far I've come, right? So then you start like you just develop a sentence in the morning, you say something like that, you hold it in your head, you know, it's the story you start telling yourself. To me, this would be like a step to apply the information you're giving us. And then you walk into your day looking for examples as to how that proves what the statement is that you just said. So,
Right, and
and
the
I,
whole process can be very unconscious.
I
Like,
know, but because I was
a lot of
so,
energy from you.
and I was, you know, I mean, I'm in a place where I'm like so open. I listen. Like, if you have information, I know that I could use help, and I'm definitely about like trying to apply strategies and just like for the sake of just like mindset, you know, and really walking into the day the right way. And I just remembered that so well because it was called a clipper, and I'm like, clipper, I love that. And
And oh, I think you're talking about glimmers.
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 Oh, I thought it
Which
was
is which is what we just described. Like
okay.
you're
Okay,
looking
yeah,
for,
maybe I heard
you know,
that wrong.
and the funniest thing where I heard it applied and I didn't know what it was at the time I was hearing it is when my son was in elementary school, and this was quite some time ago. The principal would always end his morning announcements with "Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours." Every single day. Fast
Wow, I
forward
like
to
that.
now, and I can look back at that and go, I know what he's talking about finally. Is that you
Right.
really have that moment in the morning where you decide what you're going to tell yourself when you first get out of bed? Are
And you
you
know
telling
what's so
yourself it's
funny
hard
that,
to get out of bed?
yeah, that might be why, like when I go to church, it always stood out to me. There's some who end the mass in one way and then
Hmm.
they skip over this one sentence, but lately I've been hearing the sentence and I always like was like, why are you skipping over that? Because the end part of it wasn't just like the blessing or whatever. It was that um now go out and glorify God by the way you live your life.
Hmm.
And like without that, like that to me that was just such a major piece. And it was that just reminded me of what you just said, like with the principle,
Yeah.
because it's like along the
Yeah.
same lines.
It is absolutely.
And it sets
Yep.
you up to be like open and aware of that.
Yeah. And I think it's, our brains are, they're these amazing things that were created to just keep us safe. You think back to caveman days, um, they were always looking for what it deems to be unsafe. Well, back in caveman days, that was, the animal that was going to attack you or the neighboring village. Today it's just the negative stuff. And it's like, okay, yep, safety, we gotta avoid this. We gotta, listen to this over here because it might create this problem over here. And the stuff that's actually really good in the day gets lost. But you really can retrain your brain to go, even like I know I'm gonna get up out of bed tomorrow and I'm gonna be sore. I did something to my back yesterday, sitting funny watching the game, and um, but I also know I got my workout in tonight, and it's probably going to make me sore too. So when I roll over, and my first thought is, wow, that hurts.
Yeah.
My second thought is going to be because I worked hard and I had fun with family and friends, and
Yes.
that's going to put it in that context of okay, I'm a little sore, get up, get moving, but it was for reasons that had a positive where I could say I'm sore because I messed up my workout and I'm getting older and I'm
Right.
not as mobile as I used to be and all of those things. And that's going to set the tone for the rest of the day. And
Right.
it sounds so simplistic and yet it's so powerful.
Well,
The
it's
same is
yeah.
true if you can just get yourself to start the workout, then your brain can. I've started workouts saying to myself, okay, I'm just going to do 5 minutes and I'm going to go home. I'm going to do, well, now I've done five. Let me do five more.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, this 5 or 10 minutes felt really good. This stretch felt good. This
Mhm.
whatever is on the agenda for that day. And you really can shift the story you tell yourself about what you're doing. And it becomes a snowball effect. Um, because it will spread to other things and it will, and I know that people look at that and they go, well, some people have said, gosh, that sounds like toxic positivity. And it's really not. It's about using the wiring of your brain to your own advantage.
Mhm.
It's using the technology up here in a way that benefits you in the
Mhm.
same way that we use technology every day that benefits you. So I think it's important to always stop and ask yourself, is my story, is it fact or fiction? And if you're telling yourself you're not good at something, it's probably fiction. Or if something's uncomfortable or I don't feel like doing this, or you've got to take a moment to look at the reasons why, um,
It could be that
and
you were
then
fed
figure out
that
how you
long
can
enough.
rewrite it.
I mean, for some people, it could be that you were just fed that
Mhm.
thing that is just so untrue about you, and it was just driven in your head for long enough that, unfortunately, it's like the movie with the pretty woman, and she's like, "Well,
Yeah.
you somebody says something long enough to you, and then you start to believe it yourself."
Right. Right.
And that's unfortunate, but like the good news there is that there's nothing that you can't change, but you have to choose where, like, first of all, like what I've learned is who you hang around, who you're around the most.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that matters and those mindsets, because what do they say? It's like the people you surround
It's
yourself
the
with.
five people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
like pretty big right there.
And and even if the story is based on something that was at one point in time true,
Yeah.
as human beings, we are sort of these ever changing, ever evolving, even if we don't think we are, we're aging, things are just constantly changing. And so, because even if something was true at one point, you can rewrite that narrative to be a different story today. Because that is a past experience.
Hey,
So,
Jen. Oh, sorry.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, the comment you made something about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Can you elaborate what that we were talking about there?
Yeah, there's actually a book. I can't think of the author's name, but it's the same guy who wrote Tuesdays with Morrie. It's the 5 people you spend the most time with have the greatest influence on your life. So if you think about, and this is the best example I can give, it's a little dramatic, but if you think about people you know, even if it's yourself, who are happily married, and people you know who are unhappily married, those unhappily married people feed off of each other, sort of the same as the happily married couple, because they spend so much time together. If you go into if you spend a significant portion of your life in an office with a group of people or in a workplace with a group of people who it feels like they got out of bed and their purpose in the day was complaining, it drains the energy out of you. It just kind of sucks the life out of you. So the 5 people that you surround yourself most with every day drive how you go through your day. That's what the premise is.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
That's so strong too. I love the fact that you just reiterated that, because it's something you don't think about, and it's something that's just so easy to sit there and just think about,
Right. And in spending time in this kind of a group, you're surrounding yourself with people whose goals are probably similar to your own. And that is an uplifting thing that gains momentum, because you have a group of people that you can go back to and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. And there's a high probability that somebody else in the group has overcome it. And they can say, oh, yeah, I did this and I did this. And all of a sudden you're going to walk away from that conversation feeling like you got an energy boost.
And that's the whole purpose of you guys who are on the Zoom right now that we can't see. But like everything she is saying is like really a part of it. Like I understand the impact of like mindset and what it means. And like, so even though we're here in a physical workout group, like it really, to me, doesn't really matter, because it's so much deeper and I really want to see everyone be successful. So with that being said, I understand the importance of this. And when you can start, like, you will change your life, yes, through exercise, but like you'll never be able to change that if your mind is not there and you don't have a sense of feeling empowered to be able to do it. And these are like strategies which I've learned. They're so true. I mean, it's all over the place out there. And so, I always really think that that's just such a great thing. And it's something that, like, a lot of times with whatever your job is or wherever your background comes from, back in the day, mindset wasn't such a huge thing, and like people don't really understand the importance of it. But like, because I kind of do, and I've always been around that, my friends at the Y, and like, so, like magnificent people just between like Mr. Milt, April, Alana, like people who really, kind of they get it. And like, and now I've been in this group since COVID for so long. Like Kelly, that's everything she's about. Like everyone who I've met in the group, but like I make it a point to like reach out for that and stay hooked in it. And so it's not like always out there, but like if you're here, you have it. And so that's why I will not force you to do anything. Like I am not doing that. But I'm so glad you're here, Diane, because I feel like you are like such an expert. And I'm just glad that everyone else. Listen, so here's the thing. We're going to stay on the Zoom. I'm going to stay on time. This has gone out to the free group. So Diane has an hour on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this group. I believe the registration link is up right there. It's free, and you just click it, join it if you like what you heard. Each day is a different topic, and you will be so absorbed. So, I just wanted to offer that to you, and thank you, Diane. Everyone else stays on here, everyone in the Zoom group right now, just for another minute or two to wrap it up, and then that is it for everyone else. So, yeah, go Eagles, all right. See you guys.